That one is out. Cool.
We are recording, we are live.
All right. I'd like to call to order the Town of Fraser Board of Trustees meeting on Wednesday, March 4th. It is 6 o'clock. Can I have a roll call, please?
Adam Copeland,
Peggy Smith.
Julie White.
Louis Gregory.
Katie Souls.
And Brian
There's an
Cirkvenik.
echo. I'm getting an echo here. Somebody's the computer over delay.
You have the YouTube up, Brian Cirkvenik. Okay. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes for February 25th, 2026, Resolution 2026-0301 Fraser Well Rehabilitation, Resolution 2026-0302 Sewer Maintenance, Resolution 2026-0303 Support of Repaving Fraser Multi-Use Trail and OLRT Grant Application, and Resolution 2026-0304 Support of Trout Unlimited Safeway Bend Project.
I need to recuse myself from D.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thanks for that. All right, we will move on to open forum. This is for business not on the agenda. If you'd like to address the board, approach the podium. We'll give you 3 minutes of time. And if you're online, you can raise your hand. We'll start in the room. Anyone? Okay.
I do.
Oh, okay.
I am kind of concerned with a brief conversation that we had at the last board meeting. It was divulged that we have a governance committee that I don't believe a majority of the board even knows about. I don't know that the board knows what topics are discussed. I don't know that the board knows who's even on that committee until that last meeting. I think there's a desperate lack of transparency. I think when I got on this board, within the first week, we said that we were going to have quarterly joint meetings with Winter Park, and that was the last one we had. And instead, we have a governance committee. And my concerns are, an example would be the budget. That we have a budget committee and we set the bus at 1.35 and it came back at 1.5 after a conversation with Winter Park. Are they having that kind of influence on our decisions here? Is it being filtered by them? I'm not sure if our governance representatives are representing what we think, or if they were taking personal ideas there, discussing them, and then bringing their ideas back for us to vote on. I'm really uncomfortable with the transparency level of what I heard last week.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
You could have asked the question then, but we can talk about it.
I did, we did, and it was a different topic, and that's where I got the very little bit of information I have now. We should be well aware of all the conversations that are going on over there.
Okay.
sounds like an agenda item to me.
I mean,
For the
it is an
future.
agenda item. We're going to be talking about it in the first discussion, possible action. So
Okay.
I guess we'll table it until then.
Hey,
You know, but
thank you. This is not on the agenda. 3 minutes.
you've got my 3 minutes up.
I have no idea.
Sorry,
More.
Adam. But yeah.
I thought I was,
justifiable
I should be able to
concerns.
respond if my 3
Sure.
minutes were active. I mean, I'm just very concerned with how that came about. It's different than what we said we were going to do. If we're discussing topics that a majority of us are not aware of, I think that's problematic and not transparent. I'm very concerned about what I heard last meeting.
Okay.
And to Brian's point, we can definitely define that more. When we talk about the wayfinding today, it is primarily a staff involvement with a subcommittee with that, and it's really just coordinating with the town on just general infrastructure challenges and where are some places that we can coordinate. And at the governance committee meetings, It is really just having just some input just from the mayor's point of view. Really just providing input on these potential joint projects and different things that we can look at that will come to the board for approval, just like it is today. But we've discussed that committee a few times, but it's not something that we spent a lot of time on because the items of discussions primarily been wayfinding and looking at if there's any other opportunities for sustainability. So, we can have Catherine kind of provide kind of an overview of what this committee is and how it's run.
Going on, but what was said last.
So I think you're stuck on the word governance. So this is a sustainable communities
Mhm.
effort. It started, Katie Souls was the first one that was on it. And then she asked if I would take her spot. We pulled together all of the nonprofits, all the municipal entities. We said, what are your 10-year plans? Put them all together into one essentially giant 10-year plan. That plan now exists. It's existed for 2+ years. And the governance committee is just the overseers of that plan and making sure that we're communicating to talk about things in the same direction. So it's not a government plan to say you guys are out. Like it's the governance committee of the sustainable communities.
I think it needs to be more transparent.
And just
You're more than welcome to come to the meetings too.
absolutely. And just to speak to in place of the joint meetings, the reason we haven't had a joint meeting is just because of their transition of managers. So we were planning a joint meeting in January before Keith provided his resignation, the previous town manager for Winter Park. And with them having an interim in place, they did want to have a joint meeting where decisions could be made with the interim. They really wanted to have their permanent in. So John Peacock is there now. Been there for 3 weeks now. So once he gets his feet under him, we're absolutely planning scheduling a joint meeting with the town of Winter Park and likely Granby and our Grant County partners as well.
That'll be sometime this spring then?
I'm anticipating that, yes.
Okay.
We've been talking about that for a while. We finally get the manager and give him a little time to get orientated before we try to have a joint conversation on those topics.
Who are our representatives on this committee?
Me and Michael.
Okay.
And then on a subcommittee from there, just for general infrastructure that reports and kind of it's kind of a think tank of sorts that for the variety of topics that we look at related to sustainability. We do have Sarah Catanzarite's involved in that. Paul Johnson and Garrett Scott have been involved in that too. And really just coordinating on what are some areas of opportunities that we think make sense to pursue together that we can bring forward to board meetings like tonight to look at partnering on and see if we want to advance those efforts. So the one for tonight is focused on wayfinding.
I'll just add, they started a working group more recently as well that was focused on kind of revisiting some of the more environmental aspects of that sustainable communities plan. So I have participated on that from the town, again, with representatives from a number of entities. But if you haven't seen that plan, I'm happy to send out the link to that as well.
Please. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, that's more information than I had.
Okay. Anybody else online for open forum? Okay. Discussion, possible action regarding wayfinding, conceptual design and phase 1 proposal. Catherine, I'll teed you up.
Thank you. I just want to address that issue. We did write the community sustainability plan a couple of years ago. Because of changes, because of things, sometimes we all move too fast. And sometimes we're all in this community very reactive. Issues come up. We're trying to do the very best we can for our community, make decisions. The sustainability plan is not about environmental. There's an area of focus for environmental sustainability, but it's really about how do we work together as a community on areas of focus that will help all of our communities be vital, not survive. We don't want to have communities that are just surviving. We want to have communities that are thriving. And I think a step that we've missed is being able to bring you a really concise You don't want to see the plan the way it is right now because I would spend like 3 hours with you on that. So right now, as we speak, the chamber is what we call the backbone for the plan. So we try to keep things moving. We don't make any decisions. We just say, hey, you identified XYZ as an action plan. I think Sarah brings up a good topic. You said you wanted a group that works on environmental issues in our community, and our community is defined as Grand County sometimes. So how do we bring a group of cohorts together that can work together and solve an issue together better than they can if they try to do it by themselves? So if you're trying to solve how are we going to do composting, if everybody tries to do that by themselves, we'll never have composting. But if we all work together in that committee, we may come up with an idea. That idea would then, when we get to the point of asking for funding or action or support, would then come to you. So that's kind of how those committees work. But I do think that it's time for us. I'm on the verge of a beautiful presentation on the whole plan, because it's just taken us time, that I would really like to bring that to all of you. And I think that's a step that's just been missed because we were busy doing things, right? So we're busy doing things. So I would love to be able to bring that to you and the Winter Park Town Council, or maybe at your joint committee meeting, that we all talk about it together. So just to relieve any concerns you have, my role, and Megan takes notes, Megan Anderson takes notes. So they're always notes, not minutes. It's not an official thing. So she takes notes. So anytime you want the notes, happy to get them to you. And then also, our role is to like make sure my role is to kind of, these two guys can't be insulted, but to kind of make sure nobody's stepping over the line. So we don't make decisions there. We don't make funding decisions. We don't make, right? All those that we might talk about what the potential solution will be and what is going to come forward to the deciders, right? Everyone in that room understands that they don't get to decide, except Sky. Sky focuses on the committee. He can decide anything he wants. He's the boss of everything. So, but other than him, everyone else that's there understands that their role is to collaborate together, to find solutions together, and then bring them back to all of you. So bring it back to the Fraser Town Board, bring it back to the Winter Park Town Council, and that's where it gets approved or not approved. I hope that
No,
helps.
I think that great explanation. I'm all for collaboration. I was just, the explanation I heard 2 weeks ago, or it wasn't even an explanation. It was just part of the conversation. It sounded like it was Winter Park and us. And so this is a much broader effort. And again, I think it'd be great to know when those meetings are happening and what topics are being discussed, because there might be trustees that want to have some input on an individual subject or something like that. And, and provide that transparency.
And before
Input
Catherine
and
gets to her beautiful presentation on this stuff,
It's beautiful. It's
you know,
6 slides.
some of the conversation usually topics on this agenda is like, what's your housing project status? What's your childcare? How can we approach childcare? And it's collaborating with, Winter Park and the resort, and like, what is a good approach to some of these larger issues that we could look at bringing some type of action to the board, like tonight for the wayfinding, wastewater treatment plant issues that we've been having.
I still think it's better to get our input early than late. So, yeah.
And on this particular wayfinding one, it's been delayed. So there was some information brought forever and ever ago. And in between then, we've had no snow, we've had summer stuff. There's just been a bunch of things in front of everyone. And so a lot of people have forgotten that I was impatiently waiting for someone to talk about this again so that we can move forward on it. But it's my job to just go with the group. So yes. And I also want to comment that we do have Commissioner Ragnar also comes to the meeting. So we also have a county representative, because we think it's really important to ask the county anytime we can for them to pay for something. Okay, so just so you know, and also, and their input on what's the county's view on this. So, we're hoping that does open the door, for an opportunity, you know, he's kidding. Of course, though, I do ask him to pay for everything. But, you know, but it's an opportunity to bring the county in, which is something that's been lacking a lot. So on these more focused issues, we're able to have a commissioner there that they have big time input into the big plan, but to have him there so he understands what your concerns are, not just when he comes to see you, but on another basis where he's a little bit more chill and he can listen to everybody more, where it's a focused conversation. Just to let you know, that's the other person in the group. So,
Good.
okay.
Catherine.
All right. So tonight I came just to talk about wayfinding. Is that how this works? Okay. How do I make it big? There we go. So you'll get this slide deck if you haven't already. I tried to do this so I stay focused. So in August of 2025, we completed, so before that in 2024, that's how long ago this was, a long time ago. You all had agreed to fund a master plan, to hire a consultant to do a master plan on wayfinding. So wayfinding is more than signage. Wayfinding is about if I'm a new resident, if I'm a guest, if I'm someone if I'm someone from Granby that wants to come to our community and find our way around, that there's ways for them to find their way around. And so we hired a company called Merge Design who have done lots of mountain towns, and they've done this work in lots of mountain towns. So that was the first step. In August, we completed the master plan. So the design team came to our community. We started at the top of Berthoud Pass and made our way down so to the end of this project, which is the Fraser Valley Sports Complex. I know all the right names. Where'd Scott go? Okay, I tried to use all the right names. And this, we drove around with them. We used the public works people drove with them. We drove with them. And it was very interesting to have people who had never been here to say, how does anybody know how to get into Winter Park Resort? I like picking on them most. So next time you drive to the resort and you get to the main entrance, look for a sign that tells you that's where you should turn. Because there is not one. There is a sign that says bus parking with an arrow. So if I've never been here, all I see is that sign that says bus parking. So I don't know I can park my car because it says bus parking. Fraser River Trail is another good example. We all know where it is. We all talk about it as being the gem of our community. But if I'm driving down Highway 40, I don't know that I can park. I don't know where I can park and visit this gem. If I turn to a trailhead, I'll find it. But until then, there is no wayfinding to get me to this beautiful place. So wayfinding helps our residents, our guests, people from around our community actually find things, park their cars, and actually enjoy our communities. So that's the idea behind wayfinding. And then the other piece is later there'll be a digital map that follows all of this signage that we do. And the digital map will help people even more. It'll come up on their phone and it'll help them even more. So wayfinding is bigger than just, oh, are we doing signs that look alike? The other thing that wayfinding provides is for people to see that we are one community. We have separate identities, but you've come to our valley. We all of us welcome all of you. Come and visit all of it. And it feels like one beautiful place, which is how residents and guests see us, as one beautiful place. So we finished stage one. What I'm coming to you tonight about is that we want to move forward to phase two. So stage one, we just brought together a basic design that will now get refined in phase two. So as we start to refine it as a small group, all of those decisions will come to you and say, how do you like it? My understanding is you saw the first one, and I know you did because I brought it to you, but we'll move forward from that. What we get in phase two for the money that we spend is now we start to talk about being engineers. Everybody put on your engineer hat. All the construction, all the plans of where signage should go. And we've picked 3 projects. The first one is Highway 40 Anchorage signing. And then Fraser River Trail Pilot Project. So different signage for Fraser River Trail. And the third piece is to build a manual for community standards. So what we're looking at is that both communities would have the same signs, but I'll show you what they'll look like. So that's, and we get cost estimates, we get construction drawings. It's really sexy stuff. And, but we get everything we need to implement this project. Merge Design is the company that we're working with. They are renowned throughout the country. They've done Fayetteville, they've done Squaw Valley, they've done Mammoth. So they've done ski towns, they've done regular towns, Commerce City. They've done really big projects. If none of you have been to Fayetteville, North Carolina, Fayetteville, Arkansas, I highly recommend you go. Cool place. Go look at their trails. It's pretty amazing. So it's a great place. And when I went, I had no trouble finding my way anywhere that I wanted to go. So
That's good.
so where we are now. Okay, why are my pictures not coming? Should I
So
click
one more
again?
click.
Nope.
Oh, dang it.
Oh gosh, what's happening? Okay, on this slide,
I think it's in our board packet. Yeah.
is it in your board packet?
The
Aren't these on our
PDF
board
or,
packet?
What's that?
It's a PDF or a PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
Can we just look at the slides?
Okay. I thought this go really fast. All the people behind me on the agenda have visited with me this evening to tell me to go fast. And I have to kick it into Long Island here any second here. So while we wait for the slide to come up, think about how many signs you see when you drive down in our valley on Highway 40. Nothing looks the same, nothing's cohesive. Even like, how do we know where parking is? How do we know where a restroom is? The idea behind wayfinding is that we would make a uniformity about the signage so that when you're driving through from Berthoud Pass down, you would be looking at the same signs. It helps you find your way through.
And a lot of the symbols seem pretty standard, like the ones for parking, just a big
Yes.
P.
Some of them are, they are,
People,
but-
which is good.
yes, but we don't all use them the same. So it's like, how do we come up with a plan? Are we going to use that or are we going to come up with something that's more unique to all of us? And then people see it. So it might say trailhead parking instead, which would help people.
Want to see that provides options too for varieties of same types of signage. And it's be looking at having a uniformity between Fraser and Winter Park. So, you know, the sign looks the same. It's easier to follow versus us having our own individual sign options off Highway 40, size type, you know, those different things.
And the perfect vision would be to see this wayfinding go all the way on Highway 40 through Grant County. So it's not my job. Might
Yeah.
become my job, but right now I take care of Fraser and Winter Park.
Yeah.
And I go home to Granby and complain about my town government. Okay, I want to be able to show you where we are going because that's a really important slide with the pictures.
There we go.
We'll see if we can get it. There they are. Okay.
Can you just click on 3?
Forward.
There.
There we go.
All right.
This is where we are now, and they're a little bit hard to see, but on your iPads, you should be able to, or your laptops, you should be able to see these better. Everything looks different. I will tell you, this is all about Highway 40, and then the towns of Winter Park and Fraser. Winter Park Resort will have their own wayfinding plan that they pay for by themselves, but it will follow these same standards. In case any of you didn't know, C-Lot is really called Utah Junction. And if you tell someone to meet you at C-Lot, they will meet you in Winter Park because there's a C-Lot parking on the Winter Park side.
Right.
But you all say, let's go meet at C-Lot because we're going to ski to Jane. That's not right. So the resort is building their own wayfinding plan that they will pay for and implement themselves. So that's where we are now. And where we want to be, it's hard to make these big, so if you look at them on yours, the brown signs that you see on the top and the bottom that's the standard that you'll see all along Highway 40. The top of the sign, the very top one, has your Town of Fraser logo on it. The bottom one is the red Winter Park Resort sign. The third logo that there'll be is that same Winter Park Resort sign with blue on it, and that's for town. And then the green sign is the basic design for the Fraser River Trail signage. Oh, look, you can see it. And that includes interpretive signs. We'll work on all of that. But that also would be a Highway 40 sign that would help you get to the Fraser River Trail.
So that's an artist's rendition. Is that just
What's that?
scale of what we expect? Or it looks like it's as tall as the streetlights?
No, we stuck them in. No, but they are tall enough for snow. Okay, they can't, like these they put in on photos that had some snow.
Mhm.
Obviously this year it'll look like summer, but then in the winter you have to build them tall enough for an average snow year.
So that's kind of representative of scale.
Yes,
Okay.
it's not as tall as the street sign. It'll be a little bit lower than that.
They are gigantic though.
And I wasn't judging, I was asking.
They're not as tall as they look. And this is part of the refining the design. It's the basic, what they tried to do is have you see what it just kind of looks like on the highway, how the brown looks, how the basic design looks. They will scale them to be appropriate for our community.
Well, and there's all kinds of standards that Merge has for highway signs versus.
There are a
paths.
million standards.
Yes.
And the other standards are CDOT standards. So you can only build them according to CDOT standards, which will help all of us make sure that any signs we fabricate, CDOT's not going to take down, which is important.
Oh, that's important.
Okay, so in phase 2, I wanted you to know all the things we get. So we get documentation. So you just asked about elevations. Okay, so you get that. You get elevations, you get specs, construction details, engineering, graphic layouts. You get to refine the signs, shop drawings, site checks. We will be discussing all these pieces with your public works people before it comes to you to make sure they're all on the infrastructure committee. So then they will help us with the nitty gritty as this comes forward, because these are things they know better than I do. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like Public Works knows their job better than I know. So that's why we have a committee with them on it. And then they'll do the programming, like where do the signs go? How do they look? Which signs do you use where? They'll refine the design. They'll bring us project budgets. So like when you go to implement, they'll bring us budgets that show how you should be budgeting. So we're never going to do all of these in 1 year because it's expensive. So how do you break that out? Which ones are the priorities? And then they'll also do reviews and approvals and help us with those with the towns as well, but more importantly with CDOT. They'll work with CDOT on what we need to make sure that we have the correct engineering for approvals from CDOT. And
Does the same company do the production of the signs?
no, but they will give us estimates and they'll help us find fabricators in our area.
Okay.
They're in by Philadelphia.
Okay.
They've had a lot of snow when I talk to them on Zoom.
Mhm.
They always have snow outside their window. I'm quite jealous of them. This whole project, phase 2, will be completed in time for budget for 2027. So that's the timeline. Our job at the chamber is to make sure they stay on that timeline. We don't make any decisions. We don't tell them. We bring any decisions to governance. They decide what needs to come to all of you. All we do is we're the policemen. It's our job. Bad cops. Sometimes good cops. The total cost of all of phase 2 is $141,000. We're proposing that, governance committee is proposing that this gets split 3 ways, a third for Fraser, a third for Winter Park, a third for Winter Park Resort. This does include the other, one of the things that was identified that I want you guys to know about is that by this group, by Merge Design, is that you get to the top of Berthoud Pass, that Grand County sign's kind of pathetic.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's no signage when you get up, so you've driven those, think about the first time you drove Berthoud Pass. Those switchbacks, first time I drove it, there was no guardrail. There was just 2 lanes. It was very scary. And for a lot of people, it still is very scary. And then you get to the top and you think, oh my God, where am I now? Definitely, we need signage up there that says, we're going to park this far, Fraser this far, just to give people reassurance. Hey, hey, welcome to our beautiful valley.
Yeah.
And you're only X number of miles away
You're so
from going to the
close.
grocery store.
You'll get there.
So those are the things wayfinding projects identify and try to really bring to life for us as a community.
Those are big. That's
And
overdue.
that's my last slide. Look how quick I was. Questions, concerns?
Catherine, have they priced out the total cost of doing all the signs and all the
That
communities?
is what comes in phase 2.
Okay.
You get a budget for all of that. No, they haven't. This is hours and hours of work to build all of this. So yeah, so that's what you get. You do get a
That's part of
budget
it.
for all the sites.
So Catherine, can you speak a little bit about, I think at some point, maybe we have a joint meeting, maybe have a presentation by Merge looking at the final detail options for these signs.
You can have a joint meeting anytime you want. You can have Merge. I can arrange for Merge to come on Zoom. If you want to pay them, you can have them fly out Philadelphia.
No.
Highly recommend. We just go with the Zoom. John Bosey, who's the principal at Merge, is just a really wonderful, down-to-earth engineer. He talks in regular people talk. I understand everything he says. So, yeah. So anytime you want, he's happy to come on and be at one of your meetings and give you information and answer your questions.
So once they dive more into the construction detail, of these signs, look at a presentation to kind of finalize some of these construction details based on, I think, agreed upon preferences between the 2 towns at like a joint meeting, I think would be great. And then once you have those construction details, then we can actually have, just like, you have the construction documents for a home build, you can then bid it out properly. And then you can actually get good estimates on how much it would cost to fabricate.
These signs just look like they're going to be very expensive.
But we need them.
Well,
You can spread it out over a number of years.
right, that's the thing to keep in mind is
Yeah.
depending on each of the municipalities, we can decide how many we want to roll out each year.
Yeah.
We'll do an initial rollout along 40 and Fraser River Trail. We'll decide how many signs that is for Fraser, and then we can add on. So,
I would suggest the reason for that, I'll be honest, is how do you create a design that kind of elevates us to who we really think we are? So we can smack up some cheap signs, and then that says to people who want to bring a business here, that's who we are, or people who want to invest in a home, people who want to bring their family. We can say that's who we are, or we can have signs that really speak to who we know we are and elevate that signal. And these aren't, I don't feel like they're fancy. I just feel like they're solid. They also will last a long time. They're changeable. So they're also made so that, like, if you have something pointing to sports complex, and then Scott sells the sports complex to a developer and it doesn't exist anymore, right? Then we change it. They're all made so that they're modular and you can change them and keep them updated.
Yeah. That's great.
You don't have to build a whole new sign to change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but they will not be cheap.
Not be cheap, but we can also, conversations, typically with these things, you have conversations about value engineering options too. So.
Right, if you all work together
Yeah.
and
economies
build
of
10
scale.
signs a year instead of Fraser building 3, Winter Park building 2, and you all work together, you'll get a better price by building them together. And then we ask the county, because in between, they should pay for some of them. Once you leave Fraser, I think the ones after that, then you don't pay for those. Winter Park, that's time for the county. So,
Well, the county only benefits from better signage in Fraser and Winter Park, right?
right, you never know when we might go to them. We're at phase 2. I think the right time to start to talk to the county about all of this is when we get to the point where we start to fabricate and put signs up. I think that's a really good time to collaborate financially with the county.
Do you know, is there grant opportunities or anything? We've got a great
I-
grant writer.
I know you have a great grant writer. I want to remind you at this moment, I'm not a person that's going to say grants to you about anything at this moment in our country.
Yeah.
Or our state,
Yeah.
right? We're taking money away from school programming right now to try to balance our state budget. It's not a time I would tell you, yeah, let's just write a grant. Because I don't, normally I might say, yeah, let's try a grant. Not saying we wouldn't look for grants. I just don't want you to put your chips in a bucket that say we can get a grant for this because of how funding's been with childcare. Let's just talk about childcare for a minute, and then you'll figure out that funding is very tenuous in our state right now and in our country right now. So
Okay.
So on the agenda, it says phase one proposal. Is this phase one or phase
oh,
two?
this is phase two.
Okay,
phase
so
one
that's a
stuff.
typo.
Yes. It is a type.
Have we delegated all this to the chamber? Is this something that we have delegated to the chamber?
No. What do you mean?
I mean, you're representing the
Oh,
chamber.
so here's how it works usually.
What?
Is that you all direct us to go ahead and hire the contractor. So the contract will be under the chamber. Then we invoice the towns for their share. And then we do, yes, and I already said, we've been asked to coordinate that contractor. And that means if we have to bring something to the council, to this board, we do. If we have to call meetings at Public Works, we do. So we kind of take it off. But monthly, we catch up with Michael and Brian, and then if there's an issue, they'll bring it to all of you. We try to streamline, we're the backbone.
So whoever sees your work.
It-
the
You
go-
can see it anytime you want. Our work is their work. We don't do any
You're
work.
asking who's going to oversee the contract.
Yes, we oversee the contract.
Governance oversees the work you're doing. Is it representatives from Fraser, Winter Park and Winter Park Resort?
Yes.
Mhm.
Just to keep it going. And it doesn't deviate from phase two work that you see here. That's the contract that you see. So our job is to make sure the contract's fulfilled. If there are issues, we bring it to governance first. If we need to bring it to the boards, we bring it to the boards.
And one other question about there is signage for the national forest. Like right out here, going to Elk
State
Meadow.
roads. Yeah,
and
right.
Fires and all that. Is that going to be incorporated into this signage or?
We have to work with it. So that's part of that coordination that's included in phase two that the contractor will work with is can we or can't we? That'll be a question that we'll have to talk to the Forest Service about.
The same thing about Amtrak.
Mhm. That's why we have phase two. I don't have any answers for any of those questions, but I have all those questions. You all have those questions and they get researched and answered in phase two.
Phase three is the final phase.
Oh, gosh, no, there's never going to be a final phase. No, that's,
Well, just.
So
if you're not comfortable with the chamber doing this, it's
No,
mostly that
it's
we're
great.
trying to.
No,
okay.
And what the arrangement.
Yeah, that's the arrangement. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I don't think we've been updated on this in a while. Not
Right.
to Adam's
Oh,
point,
you
I don't
might have missed a
know who's
meeting.
overseeing it.
before the last meeting, we had the discussion during budget with town. We budgeted 75,000 for this wayfinding project. I think this is it's currently estimated to come in lower. So we do have this budget for, that was the last time that we talked about it, probably a couple times during budget season regarding the wayfinding project and just the desire to have that uniform signage, this project essentially. But just, pending any further discussion, questions you all want to ask, what we're looking for tonight is just a motion to move forward with this phase two proposal, not to exceed a 1/3 contribution for this project that's currently is estimated at 141. I believe.
Yeah. When I added up those numbers.
So the resort is kicking in a third, but then they're gonna do their own wayfinding. They're gonna have a whole separate, I mean, I've worked at the resort as a host. It is confusing as hell.
Yes, it is. And they will have their own, they're already
We don't
working.
understand a lot of
Right.
like the buses and the
Uh-huh.
parking lots.
Yeah,
and
no.
It is a mess.
So, and the resort recognizes that, and they are already in discussions with Merge to build a separate wayfinding project. And it's all laid out. Oh my
Above and
goodness.
beyond this.
It's so, oh yes, and it's so many pages. You would not be surprised at how many pages it is. But- No, but it's all taking time to do this, but they will pay, that will be financially, that will be on their, on them. But they've agreed to work with us so that when you get to the resort, their signs aren't gonna look, their signs are going to have the same look as what the signs do in town. So that it always looks like one community, that no matter where you are, you feel like you're here. You're in one place.
I think that's good.
So, Michael, you said we budgeted 75,
Mhm.
and it looks like it's gonna come in, give or take 50.
Right.
Okay.
I
Like
do
to make
think,
a motion?
well, real quick, before you do a motion, I just want to reiterate again, if you all want, Michael can put me, I would really like to be on another agenda and just update you on the whole plan and how everything works. Bring you the areas of focus and the tactics, all those things,
For the sustainable, what's the name of the plan? What's the official name of the plan?
the Winter Park and Fraser Sustainable Community Plan.
Yeah, why don't you get that held in? That'd be great.
You're invited.
And that's not a bad one too for a joint meeting, because both
That-
want,
that would be-
update everybody at the same time.
Yeah.
Or not,
John,
it's your call.
He's had enough time.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
And
I'd
what
like
we're
to make a
talking
mo-
about,
Yeah, oh, never
Well,
mind.
no, they're gonna do a motion first
First,
on phase
okay,
two.
I just
don't
want to
down,
move
don't
on.
down.
I think it's time to move
okay, I'll
on.
make a motion to approve phase 2 of the signage, um, sustainable signage program. And,
Can-
I guess, make our contribution that is allocated of what, 50,000?
Oh, yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
I,
Any opposed?
thank you, Catherine. You're
So,
amazing.
Catherine, I would love it if we could arrange to have you come back in addition to this. Maybe you can combine them.
No,
And kind of talk about marketing and what the chamber does for both communities so that,
so Peggy asked me this question. I would love to be able to come and present the entire work plan for 2020, what year is it? 2026 to all of you and just bring the whole plan. That will include what the marketing plan is, how we spend $300,000 marketing the community. And just so you know, in our office, in our values, it's the community. So that's really how we look at it. We really feel like that's how our system works here, how people work. We are a community. And so that's always what our value is what's best for the community. So, and sometimes that means different things for different towns, but it's still the community. So I would love to be able to bring you that work plan. It's like only like 8 slides. It's done. So anytime you want me to come, I'm happy to bring it.
Good. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Catherine.
thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay. Next up, Fraser Valley Metropolitan Recreation District, Old Schoolhouse Park pickleball request.
Good evening, everybody. Scott Ladine, Fraser Valley Recreation District. I believe you have in your packet a short memo along with a Google Earth photograph. We are simply looking for approval to move forward with some planning. Michael and I have discussed the possibility of adding a couple of pickleball courts adjacent to the existing tennis courts. The current condition of the existing tennis courts will require ultimately complete renovation of that space. The sub-base structure on those tennis courts is some 30 plus years old. We have tried numerous repairs on the existing courts with different products, and we continue to see cracks forming on the existing courts. So the real solution is looking at a entire renovation and putting in what's called post-tension concrete. And looking for, again, just the approval to begin planning with a tennis court company. Have had some initial conversations on to look at if there would still be some potential for on-street parking. I'm not sure if you can pull up the aerial to kind of look at the space there. But our intent would be to, minimize the impact on that space. The project itself, we don't have a current budget for it, so this is very preliminary planning. It would be, 27 or after before this would even occur, probably. The project costs have not even been identified, but I'm estimating with a post-tension surface that we're probably looking at least a $500,000 project to make this happen. Happy to answer any questions that anyone might have, but as you know, pickleball is an extremely fast-growing sport in our country. We have added 4 different pickleball times to use, or for folks to be able to use the rec center. And we often see 20 plus people coming in to use it. We have a morning slot and an afternoon slot. So there's 4 different times throughout the week. As you probably are aware as well, we added 4 pickleball courts that go in the ice rink facility in the summertime. That is a sport court that we're able to remove for ice and then put back in the summertime to accommodate pickleball. And we would love to offer a couple of additional courts that are fully outside. You can see the aerial photo there of the expected space that those pickleball courts would take up to the east of the existing courts.
So Scott, you would be ripping out what we've got and starting with a blank slate that would include the 2 tennis courts and 2 pickleball courts.
That's correct.
With the space that you have there, just curious if you can tighten up like the west side, or is that a standard distance? I'm just thinking to keep a little more space to the east if possible. I think this is a great plan, but depending on what's required between those courts to be able to tighten everything up a little bit.
Yeah, there typically is a standard space between courts that you need to have. So when you have, both people on those tennis courts, you need to have space between them. I can certainly chat with our vendor to see what options we have, if we can squeeze that at all.
I'm looking at the west side thinking, well, maybe that could squeeze over, give you another foot to
Yeah,
pull off the footprint.
These are kind of standard.
I think they're pretty standard and pretty tight as
Are
it
they?
is. That's
Yeah,
Kinda like
okay.
Yeah. The one thing that I think Sarah and Michael mentioned is maintaining an ADA access to the park itself. And they provided kind of a photo back for me that kind of shows an arrow there on I'll call it the southeast kind of corner, and where that existing drinking fountain is out there. So we would work with our design team as well to make sure that we can maintain that access through there. I've talked with Michael as well about some plans that you guys have for some future renovations to the town park, possibly moving of the pavilion, allowing access to the bathrooms with some type of ramp system. And I was mentioning to Michael that, it might be wise to work together on these plans to make sure that we don't put something in and then it has to be adjusted when the town makes changes to the park itself as well.
Scott, who owns this land? Is this Metro District land?
It is not. It is, I believe it is school district property. And I think Michael
So-
or maybe the town staff could speak to that a little better,
Yeah,
but
it's town-owned land that was contributed by the school district with an agreement in place that it has to be used for public recreational purposes.
So we don't
So-
need any special permission to do
No.
this. And
No, I mean, Scott, did you guys construct these courts in the first place?
we did.
So I think it was just, we worked with the rec district and looked at just getting these built in the first place. But it was contributed by the school district. They had the ability to reclaim that land if it's used for anything other than a recreational public
so
purpose.
it's dedicated for recreation sort of in perpetuity.
Otherwise,
and-
the school district can have claims back to it.
And the bigger question is who's paying for it? Is it
This would be a rec district
Okay,
project.
that's what okay. And is it gonna be, uh, is it gonna be overlapping or these are be separate courts? So 2 tennis courts and 2 pickleball?
So the tennis courts, let's assume that those were in great shape and we didn't have to make any adjustments to them. The 2 pickleball courts would go adjacent and they would sit in a north-south direction to each other. So one kind of on top of the other in that small space.
Okay. I mean, I've seen pickleball courts within tennis courts, sort of.
And that is a challenge with the tennis community and the pickleball folks fighting for the use of that space. That is a real conflict
Yeah.
across the nation, really.
Gets a
I
lot of
just was wondering if that was something you were planning to do. And then I guess finally, what about the noise issue that's,
Yeah, noise is a concern. I think that this space doesn't have, a ton of residential real close by. That is something that communities struggle with is the noise that
Right.
that comes from those places.
As somebody that lives in the neighborhood, I would encourage you to do some kind of sound study on it. This meeting room is used during the day for meetings and there's offices. Michael's well within impact area. So I would encourage to look at the sound impacts and mitigate those.
Yeah, there's a daycare next door, like the children nap
Yeah.
too, so.
So if sound is a concern, I mean that
They can deal with the train.
I know that the renter court surfaces, sport surfaces, I believe they're called. I'm sure they've probably been asked this question and can provide some information. I can't speak to, what that decibel level, should be or what surrounding neighbors are going to want to see. All I can tell you is that it is a conflict in some communities, and I've heard of some communities closing down pickleball courts because of the uh, the noise that accompanies that.
Yeah, we just want to avoid all that.
Yeah.
I think you've got a decent plan. We want to avoid any conflict or
Yeah.
I was about to say there's a train that comes by pretty regularly,
Oh,
but
yeah, right, talk about noise.
Um,
So I have a question for Paul on Public Works. You guys have really big snow piles there on a regular basis. I'm sure you'll find other places for snow storage.
Snow storage is becoming a problem everywhere as we develop every piece of land that we have.
Okay,
It came up
You know-
this morning when we talked about this, that
okay.
would
But it
have-
looks like there'll still be some room.
as part of our current intergovernmental agreement that we have, it identifies using the sports complex for snow storage on those heavy years.
Cool,
You guys had done that before.
great.
You have truck snow out there.
Okay.
And use the south part of the sports complex parking lot where closer to where the soccer fields are. But I also don't want to get too far down this path with design and
Yeah.
engaging a vendor if
Cool.
we think sound is really going to be an issue. One of the challenges that we have as a rec district is lack of land. I like to refer to us as being land poor. So this was an opportunity to use existing courts. And, I've asked the developer in Grant Park about possibly adding a couple courts in the parking lot of the rec center. And he has told me that no, that when Grant Park is built out, that shared parking agreement, that we will need all of those spaces. And I was only going to lose a couple of spaces within the rec center. Happy to revisit that with him again and do some conceptual work to show him how small of an impact that would have. Because it would be nice to have additional courts there as well.
I would say so long as there's no lights and it's just a daytime facility, it'd probably be okay. And like for
Are there
noise,
currently lights on the tennis court?
There are not.
I mean, if we forget the daycare kids, they can sleep through anything.
One, I think we also want to lock that off during like the music in the park.
Right.
I like that idea.
And
Yeah.
just something additional, my conversation with Scott talked about like, we could do this. If we can maintain one row of parking, I think that'd be great. But just kind of looking at this earlier today, Scott, just if we could design a sidewalk to go in between where the pickleball course will be and where the parking will be, I think that would be great and increase the pedestrian safety that's going to be coming heavily for the music in the park type of things. If we can look at the spacing to accommodate those items, I think you've got a pretty home run. And that sidewalk can come down and then just cut across to the entrance there next to the water fountain.
Right.
Park.
I'd love to have you throw into the plan just the cost of asphalting that row of parking that would exist on the outside of the pickleball court,
Okay.
just to eliminate some of the dust that can blow through and just
And mud tracking into the court.
right. Mud into the court, mud into the
Mud
Definitely
road.
holes in there. Mm-hmm.
You also have additional parking on the north side too, along where the pickleball courts would be as well.
Right. Yeah, I'm not concerned about losing parking. I would trade the pickleball courts for the parking, no problem, because for music in the park, people are already using the elementary school's parking lot, so they'll just use it a little more.
No, I think it's great. Go for it.
Yep,
Great.
me too.
Okay, do we need a motion here?
How about y'all?
Need a motion to,
I think a motion would be good for the record, just to show the support moving forward, and they can reference that as needed to for their.
I'll make a motion to move forward with the pickleball courts next to the old schoolhouse park.
Second.
Further discussion.
I'm in favor if there's a noise study or, if you guys looking at the noise, I just Googled it. It says 500 feet is how far it should be from residences. And that's probably about 250 to the first house.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Like,
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, next up, resolution 2026-0306, approving Fraser Bike Park Maintenance MOU. Sarah.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Catherine.
Then people will stay here and have lunch.
Thank you. That's very true.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Cirkbenick, Board of Trustees, Sarah Catanzarite, Assistant Town Manager. I wanted to start with just kind of a brief update on where we're at with the bike park, discuss some of the signage that we're looking to put in to see if there's any feedback from the board on that before that gets finalized. And then we can discuss the maintenance MOU and manual, which has a resolution as well as a funding agreement with HTA that we have an amendment in the packet to extend. So starting with the update, as you all know, the bike park was mostly completed last fall. Say we were at about 85–90%. We have a few items that we're looking to complete this spring and summer. So we have been continuing to work with our partners on the project and Avid to make sure those are done. So Avid is coming back, weather permitting, late April, early May, to modify the wall ride that's at the end of the jumps right now. We had some concerns about the way it was initially placed in terms of what safety and just if that was the best spot for it. They're going to be installing a shade structure over the central hub as well as other central hub amenities, including seating, a bike repair station, and a log bike rack. Some kind of ranch style arch gateways that are going to be over the beginner skills area. In addition to that, we're working with them on finalizing the signage, which Trestle and the Winter Park Resort have graciously offered to provide the labor for that. So we're just going to be paying for the actual materials. So we're going to finalize that, get those printed at the resort, and then get those installed. We're working on putting our sponsor logos on features as promised with our sponsorship agreements. I think the current idea is that we'll have Mountain Parks Electric and Guzman as our presenting kind of marquee sponsor if it works out on that wall ride. And then Rendezvous Foundation will be on a bike park feature. We're working with Kathleen, our gardener, to get the landscaping in place. The town is going to be constructing a water tower. We're hoping to make it somewhat stylish and kind of fit with that kind of ranching style theme. But that will serve for regular maintenance of the bike park. We'll be able to kind of fill that up when our crew has time to do so. And then the trail crew that comes to maintain the bike park will have access to that water when they're there. And then there's just a couple spots that we're looking at some buck rail fencing. CPW did not want fencing around the entire park because that inhibits kind of the animal migration. But there's a couple kind of safety spots where we were wanted to provide a little more separation between like the trail around the Lions Ponds and the bike park area. So most of this we're hoping to complete April, May. Some of it may bleed into later in the summer, depending on, again, weather and just availability of work crews. We are tentatively planning for a grand opening on Saturday, May 30th. So we've had an initial meeting or two with Bob Holmes and Trestle Bike Park, who's helping out a bunch with it. Scott Ledeen and his team with the Fraser Valley Metropolitan Rec District and HTA. We've talked about a number of items, having possibly like a kids bicycle parade. Icebox has signed on to do some bike safety checks. We've talked about possibly having some dirt, kind of more expert dirt jumpers out there, some beginner clinics, food trucks, raffles, giveaways. KFFR is going to be out there DJing. So we think it's going to be a great event. We've had a lot of support, ongoing support from our partners. We're working now on kind of reaching out to some of the local businesses. I need to touch base with the Mountain Bike Alliance, the chamber, but just getting anybody who wants to be involved. So it should be a nice community event. Again, kind of all weather dependent, but it'd be great if you could mark your calendars and plan to be there.
Did you say April 30th?
May 30th.
Still a little early, and it's still mud season. It is really muddy out there. I mean, the ones that aren't paved are just, I mean, it's kind of mud season now, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
still mud
It's not
By the end of
much
May,
bigger
it should
this
be
year.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
hopefully it's not.
We'll see.
Hopefully it's
I was
winter.
gonna say, our hope is that it is dry.
But their hope is it's
That
dry.
says we probably will get all of our snow now in May since we are planning on this.
Right.
It was a balance between trying to like ensure the weather would hopefully cooperate with wanting to be able to open it up and have people riding it, for as long as possible this summer. Versus, scheduling something for the end of June and not having it open for that period.
Long-term forecasts say you're gonna be okay. Any given day it can, but.
I think another year we probably would have pushed it back a little bit. This year, that felt like a safe bet. I'm going to stop saying that because I don't want to.
Well, and it'd be great to have it open soon for things for
They're,
people. to do.
they're over there now.
I know. So along the lines of people being over there now, I think we need to do something to be really clear about it. Muddy, stay off the trails. Because I know, well, the new signage it's in a line on each one of those sections, but something that's just like really clear and in your face at all the entrances because they're trashing them. And the dirt's so soft now anyway because it's new.
Do you need
So-
those? Do you need to manage
And
that?
the
Well,
Forest Service
it's
doesn't
hard to
open their
close it
roads
off.
until the 15th.
Yeah, well, and they always put the trails out and people still go out and ride them.
I'm talking about the Forest Service roads.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
Anyway,
a
it's-
great segue into our signage. Let me try to get this bigger here.
Yeah, that looks good.
It's big on my screen. I don't know if you can adjust it over there. All right, so this is kind of our draft signage. And before I jump into this, I think it's something that we maybe consider because the pump track where people are riding is asphalt. I guess the issue is that they have to go over the dirt to get to the asphalt pump track. So I don't know if we look in the future at putting an asphalt path in there because I think it has been great having that available to people, especially I think some of our folks that would otherwise be skiing and snowboarding have been happy to be able to bike on the pump track.
Yeah.
But they do have to access it via the dirt trails, which right now are not snow packed.
Yeah.
But we do have on our signage information about making sure people are abiding by closures and not riding when muddy. We've been trying to balance having all the information we need with not having too much text that just fills up the sign so much that nobody's reading anything except for the really diligent rule followers. So that's kind of been the balance. We have sent this signage as well to CIRSA and gotten some feedback from them as our insurance company to make sure we're covered in terms of liability. But the idea is that we'll have a few kind of main Fraser Bike Park signs. Some of these are going to go in the kiosk that Andy Miller has made that are located. We have a new one that's going to be going in on the west side of the park where people are coming down from the frontage road, and then working with that kiosk that's over by the pedestrian bridge. The idea is that we would change one side of it to reflect bike park signage, and then we'll have some smaller footprint signs at different kind of entry points. So this would be the main kind of sign. So it's got our different project partners and sponsors at the top, a map, and you can see it's kind of designated by ability level in terms of the beginner skills zone, adaptive skills trail, progressive jump trails, pump track, central hub, and gathering area. Helmets are mandatory, and we have put the main signage in both English and Spanish. And as you can see, even with trying to limit this, it's just really hard to get text of any size to have this much information up there. So kind of the primary stop, read this section reads, use at your own risk. The town of Fraser assumes no responsibility for accidents, injuries, or damage. Mountain biking is a high-risk activity and accidents could result in injury. Do not ride beyond your skill level. Be mindful of trail signage. Some trails are multi-directional, while others are downhill only. Look before you leap. Observe park closures. Do not ride the trails when muddy. This ruins the trails for everyone. Please come back another day. Be respectful of wildlife. Give them space. And then our helmets, our rules. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger.
Sarah, I don't think you need to read the whole thing if you don't want to.
No.
I think you just
Yeah.
give the board a few seconds to review it. I mean, they've had a really good approach and good stakeholder input on this type of stuff, and this is what they do. I
Well,
mean,
not my experience, kids are not gonna read this.
no, but as far as just signage goes,
I mean, if it's a liability issue, great, but they're not gonna read through all.
It looks good in a photo if there is something that's really weird and that we're worried about. We can go take a photo of it. So it shows that it was there when they went to ride the park. Signs are useful that way. That was my risk management job at the resort. You want to show the sign that said caution, cliff area.
We would close it with signage, and then we're also working with HTA since they post all the local trail closures or recommended, please do not use the trail while muddy closures. So that's when it would be closed, primarily when it's muddy.
Yeah.
We don't want them on the dirt trails. Yeah. And so then in each of the different sections, there are kind of information and rules specific to those different sections. So here you can see is the pump track rules. And then we have ones for the jump line. Again, helmets are repeated. Some of the kind of ride at your own risk is repeated throughout.
Sarah, I think that blue and green on the maps, are these ones is hard to see with the background color.
Okay, we
don't
could
know.
work on that.
well, the green and blue, those are the difficulty, right?
Yeah, I understand.
They
that.
are. I think we want to keep that green and blue, but we could work on changing the
background?
background so that they're,
Lightning it or something.
yeah. And the link to these is, I mean, it is still a working document. So we provided a link versus a PDF, but this is in your packet. So if there are any omissions or things that you would like to see in terms of rules or whatnot for the bike park, please let us know.
Those signs are examples, but we don't have a gap done. So.
Sarah, do we have anything that's like, if there's something that's broken, call the town or
Oh, that's a good idea.
needs to be repaired?
We could add this. We have a QR code here that links to our website on the bike park. So people can look there for information regarding events and closure schedules. And then from that webpage, we will also link to HTA's information where they're posting kind of the ongoing closures. So we could add language there about
I don't know what. how you do
Maybe
it,
just
but
if you
comments.
see something that needs attention or something like that.
Let us know.
So please reach out. Yeah.
Is there gonna be anybody like checking on it or patrolling it periodically?
Yeah, and we'll talk about that next with the maintenance MOU and
So
manual.
what did they do up at the skate park at Hideaway Park? I mean, that's that's another high risk. I guess it doesn't have the same layout, but how do they manage that? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, that is a good question. I have not actually talked to somebody specifically about the bike park. We've been working quite closely with Baum Homes and Trestle Bike Park, given their experience with bike parks and their generous offer to take on a lot of their regular maintenance. And then, Sursa kind of provided their checklist of items for BMX and bike parks. So we've used that as well as a reference, and then also leaned on Avid kind of for their expertise.
So that's the town of Winter Park that manages that.
Mhm.
A good idea to.
Yeah, I
talk to
could
them
ask
and
them
see
about that.
How they manage, that's certainly a risk management issue for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Scott,
they've
do you
got,
know anything
they have
about-
good signage. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it's unsupervised, right at your own risk. They say helmets required, but it's not enforced.
Staff always enforcing or always at this park.
Yeah.
And some of those questions have come up, if there's injuries or whatever, for years, we had a bike park. And we tried to capture that on the signage, that this is right at your own risk, and they call 911 if there's a.
Right, yeah. Yeah, but that's what the signage addresses.
So I'd like to piggyback off of Julie's statement on the colors. I would just suggest maybe we run all these signs and language through an accessibility filter. We are in a CD. That's our identity up here is the accessibility of it, and the color differences and those kind of things are all in those laws and standards.
That's a good point. All right, any other questions or comments, feedback on the signs?
No.
We are looking to hopefully finalize those in the next kind of couple of weeks. So if you do have any feedback, again, the link is in your packet there. Please let me know. We'll be happy to look at incorporating that. So next up is the memorandum of understanding. So again, a number of our partners that have helped bring this project to fruition have offered to help with ongoing maintenance. So we have created an MOU between the town of Fraser and Trestle Bike Park, which is part of Winter Park Resort, the Fraser Valley Metropolitan Recreation District, and the Headwaters Trail Alliance. So we do have Scott here from the Rec District, as well as Bob is online with Trestle if there are any questions for them. But basically the purpose of the MOU is to establish a cooperative framework for ongoing maintenance of the park, establish kind of the different responsibilities that each entity has agreed to take on and who is responsible for what. So we have worked extensively with our partners to establish this. We've had Kent review it. There was some language that his team suggested we take out around indemnification and legality. So we're just finalizing some of that language with Winter Park now. So the resolution that is in your board packet does ask for approval of this pending final review and authorizing us to make some changes as long as we don't change anything substantive about the memorandum of understanding itself. So walking through it, it is. I have to scroll. Okay. Again, just laying out the purpose and the terms, the general principles. The town of Fraser will be responsible for structural inspections and maintenance, particularly of the kind of the prefabricated features. We will work with Trestle's crew to walk through a couple times a year and do that. We are responsible for the pump track maintenance. So there are things like seal coating that have to be done. We would hire somebody to do that, but that is our responsibility to kind of inspect that and make sure that that happens and take care of that. General kind of maintenance of the central hub and amenities, as well as the water infrastructure. On the next page. We'll be doing the initial landscaping, and then the rec district is taking on kind of the ongoing landscaping maintenance moving forward. So they'll work with Kathleen on what that looks like. Trestle Bike Park, they are providing a rideable surface maintenance inspection, again, helping with those inspections and kind of seasonal maintenance and support contributions. Again, they've quite generously offered 20 hours per week during the early season startup to make sure everything's in shape and ready to go, and then approximately 10 hours per week during the peak season, subject to conditions, as well as ongoing technical guidance. Again, the rec district, as I mentioned, is taking on landscaping. Go to the next page. And general kind of site support and coordination. And then HTA is going to help out with technical assistance, that communication piece, and kind of helping to post when we'd like people to stay off the trails because they are muddy, general site support. And then the next item on our agenda does speak to this fundraising piece and continued support in the fundraising arena, particularly as a 501c3, so they can accept donations that may be tax deductible, so more favorable to people looking to contribute to the bike park. Are there any questions?
Yeah, is this I'm thinking of maybe insurance or something. Is this considered a playground? I know playgrounds are incredibly cumbersome for inspections and you know, stuff. Is this in that category or is this?
So we had spoken to Sursa, and it is kind of looked at similar as to a playground. It does require regular inspections. We will keep a maintenance manual. Bob, you can probably speak better to I about kind of just requirements around kind of maintenance, check logs and inspections and things like that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Bob Holm, Winter Park Resort Director of Mountain Maintenance. Thanks for having me join tonight. I think what could be expected is to come up with a template and a checklist that first and foremost is easy for the different crews, whether it be Trestle or HTA, the rec district, to easily complete. That gives us enough information to remind us in future times of what was done, when it was done, and what was seen. So we could do that in paper form and then change it into digital form. Essentially we can look at something that Katie Souls would be very familiar with, that would be a good risk management tool and allow us to track any problem areas within the surfaces, problem areas within general maintenances, and then also if there's any incidences that are worth reviewing and inspecting based on incidents that have happened in the park.
So originally you're thinking about doing it on paper just to get started, and you've got 4 different entities. How will the town, is there somebody at the town that's going to be responsible for reviewing and making sure that we're getting enough of the inspections and the maintenance done on a monthly basis? Who's going to oversee those results from? Everybody's looking around.
No, I have Paul Johnson, our Public Works Director. Will be working closely with Trestle on that and the trail crew that Trestle has out there.
I wonder if a Google Doc or something that could be used that people can add to that would have, I don't know.
So
Something that's,
They can figure that
well,
out.
you can figure it out later. It's great. And thanks, Bob, for being on board with this. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm really flexible
You're
with
talking,
what
but we can't hear you. Uh-oh, I think you're muted, Bob. Oh, your lips are moving, but we can't hear you, Bob.
Can you hear me?
Barely.
What happened?
There you are.
There you go.
Try that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're
Yes.
barely. Yeah, you got it.
We can be really flexible in what seems to make the most sense, given technology, whether it's people using their phones. And the key is that we just make sure we capture the data, however we're capturing it, whether it be on paper and then it's transposed once a month into the more digital form. Happy to be flexible with that. We've had success in a number of different ways that we can share. And if any of the other partners have had success with ways of reporting and keeping those maintenance logs, we can adapt to those as well. So I'm happy to hear ideas and solutions. But the key is having good reports.
Great.
Yeah, so as part of that MOU, it does reference the Fraser Bike Park Maintenance Manual. So Avid originally drafted this for us. Bob has spent a lot of time with it, reviewing it and making some edits. Again, we floated it to our other partners. And so I won't spend any time extensively on this unless folks have questions. But again, it just kind of further delineates who's responsible for what and exactly what has to happen down to the type of paint we should be using to restripe the pump track as that needs to happen. So again, I think just a great document to make sure everything's happening. It was definitely a learning process for me when we started this as to how much regular maintenance and inspection work does have to go into maintaining a bike park, both to keep up that quality and to ensure that it is safe and that we are legally in a good spot, you know, if any accidents do happen. So if there's any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, there is a resolution to approve the MOU.
I move to approve resolution 2026-0306, approving the Fraser Bike Park Maintenance MOU.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Okay. Great.
Thanks to all involved.
Yeah.
It's exciting. A
think
great
we have all
collaborative effort.
Kind of a continuation with the next one, right?
Yes.
Resolution
Yeah.
2026-0307, approving HTA Fraser Bike Park Agreement, Addendum 1.
Yep. So we did establish an agreement. Thank you, Scott. An agreement with HTA back in July of 2024 to have them receive donations on our behalf for the bike park, again, taking advantage of their 501c3 status. So they did set up a Colorado Gives page to receive donations. And I can actually just show you that real quick.
Well, this last November?
This was set up in July of 2024.
Oh, how did
Um,
it do through Colorado Gives? You
Yeah,
didn't
so
tell
we've
us.
actually continued to receive donations, and a lot of them are smaller, but we've gotten a few larger ones. So we've received almost $15,000 through this page. Most recently, we received a $5,000 donation a month ago. So HTA continues to maintain this for us. They collect the money and then again will provide it to us for the purposes of the bike park. The agreement that we had with them was written that it was set to expire in the end of 2025. So this addendum just continues that agreement on, one, so we can continue to receive the donations that we've received this year to actually complete the bike park. And then we've decided that it would be a good idea just to keep that relationship and agreement in place so that if people want to make donations or there's fundraising possibilities to go into a maintenance pool for kind of ongoing maintenance and future enhancements of the bike park, we continue to have that established.
Absolutely. I'll make the motion.
I was about to
Go for it, Adam.
make a motion to approve resolution number 2026-03-07.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thanks.
And I would just like to take the opportunity to again thank all of our partners. They really have just been hugely, hugely helpful in bringing this together. It has very much been a community effort, as well as to our sponsors. I know Rendezvous is here.
Yeah.
We will get your logo out there soon. But they've just been a superb group to work with and really made this project happen. So
It's exciting.
Absolutely.
And to our ringleader,
Yeah.
assistant manager, Sarah Catanzaro. Yay!
I get to stand up here and then give Paul all the work while I take the credit.
All right, next
done
up, we
really
have
good.
Fraser Transit Center planning update, Sarah and Joan Lyons.
Hello, Joan.
Hello. So once again, Sarah Catanzaro, Assistant Town Manager, and with us online is Joan Lyons from CDOT. I wanted to provide you a brief update on where we're at with our Fraser Transit Center efforts. And then Joan is with us to help talk specifically about some collaborations with CDOT. So as you know, the town of Fraser closed on 360 Railroad Ave on that property on January 9th, 2026. The property was purchased by the town primarily to be developed as a multimodal transit center for the town of Fraser. The property is ideally located for this purpose, being right across the street from that Amtrak platform. It also is where the Lyft bus stops, as well as Bustang. Future Mountain Rail Service will be utilizing that platform as well. So it really is kind of the hub of transit in Fraser. Staff has been working on different ways to kind of go after some funding and look at planning efforts to make sure we're being intentional around that property and future development. We've been having ongoing conversations with Amtrak. They are interested in leasing the property to use for their passenger waiting area and crew room. So there's some different requirements that they have for that. As some of you may know, they had been working through an ADA program where they are updating all of their different platforms and stations across the country to make sure they're fully ADA accessible. The improvements for the platform area are set to begin, I believe, in April. It's kind of been a moving target. That, as I understand it, is actually going to be a couple years worth of kind of moving the platform and different things going on, as they have to make sure that they're keeping the platform open the entire time that they're doing the renovations. I'll throw in as a side note that I know I showed you previously a sign that Sarah Wick had worked with, I believe, Slate to kind of develop, that the DDA is sponsoring. And so we are working with a real estate agreement with Amtrak and getting those signs made, and hope to have those up later in the spring, early summer. Amtrak's contractor is going to hang those for us when they're on site. Amtrak, we're also discussing with them receiving reimbursements towards ADA improvements that need to be made within that old vet building to be compliant. So that will largely be focused on an ADA restroom and then creating a ramp to that front entrance in terms of immediate improvements.
Is there coordination on these signs with the wayfinding program?
We looked at that. Yes. And no. I don't want to say no. I have been involved in both projects, and it was decided that we felt that that the look of them would blend well with the future wayfinding. These would be hung on the rail station. The DDA had actually looked at a lot of other signage that we have held off on due to the wayfinding study and wanting to make sure that ran its process.
But just to clarify, like the signage that they've been working on, it will go on the actual Amtrak station and
Inside.
on the outside.
No, it'll be hanging on the platform. Right now, there's a tiny little Fraser sign that kind of hangs from the roof of the platform.
The north-south, yeah.
Yeah, one on the south and one on the north end. So you'd see it as the train came in. Yeah, I know we showed those at a previous board meeting. I'm happy to send those to everybody, though, just to refresh everyone's
I
memory.
think they're ordered now, I think, so they're. in
We're
process.
working on it. Yeah. Yep.
But we'll absolutely have wayfinding directing people to the Amtrak station and to the transit hub as well. At some point, we need to formally name that transit facility.
Yeah, but this sign's not meant to be.
Signage and logo, they're not going to change that.
Right, but we could put an Amtrak logo on our wayfinding signs.
They let us.
Mhm.
They don't want advertising, no, I guess they don't need it, but.
Just a picture of a
yeah.
train is all it takes.
Hey, exactly.
Just a picture of a train, that's even better.
So in conversations with CDOT about this transit center that we were looking to develop, I've talked to a number of individuals, including Joan, who has been quite helpful. And she has connected us with funding that is available through their mobility services. So they work with an existing on-call consultants, Felsberg Holt.
And
FHU.
FHU for short, yeah.
I don't want to butcher the name. And specifically had some money for some first and last mile travel shed analysis. That is money that has to be spent by the end of June. That work could begin immediately. We had scheduled an initial site visit on one of the few days we've actually had some snow and colder, nasty weather here in Fraser. So that has been rescheduled, and we're looking at doing that, I believe, next week or the following week. But that basically is a travel shed analysis that looks at kind of connection points and pedestrian traffic, multimodal transportation connections immediately around the station. And I can let Joan speak more to that in just a second. As part of phase 2, while this first phase is happening, we can work with CDOT to fully kind of build out a scope for a larger kind of plan and community engagement around the station and station area planning. And there's the opportunity there, within certain parameters to kind of define the scope of what we want that to look like. And once again, that is money that CDOT has available to work with consultants that they work with, and Fraser gets to reap the benefits and have professional planning services done. Joan, would you like to say anything more to that?
Sure. Yeah. Hello, trustees. I recognize a couple of you from my time previously working at the county and also being a ski racer in the community. So it's great to see you all. So yeah, I think Sarah did a really great job covering most of what we're trying to accomplish with the different phases of this study. So as she mentioned, FHU has an existing on-call contract with the Office of Innovative Mobility, which has a group called Mobility Services within it. And so we wanted to make sure to be able to utilize that funding. And we had heard from Sarah that she was looking at opportunities to find ways for CDOT to contribute to the closing of this property. We understood that the existing owner of the Amtrak station adjacent to the new proposed station was having some issues with complying with the ADA. And so we wanted to try to be a good steward to help. While we couldn't necessarily help with closing costs, we were able to find some money in OIM to help provide some of these different planning services to the town. And yeah, the exciting thing about, I think, the future phases of this station study is that really you all can figure out what exactly you do with that physical building in future years, whether it's continuing to make improvements on the existing facility, as Sarah mentioned, where you're making the ADA improvements that are necessary to keep that open, or maybe in future years you guys want to build something entirely different. We're looking to kind of explore all those different options as a part of this study, and we are almost done with completing a task order for the town staff to review. We're hoping to schedule the site visit, the walk shed visit on the 16th. So trustees are welcome to come to that if they'd like, just to learn about some of the different constraints in your community. And then I think we may, and I know I haven't shared this with Sarah or Michael yet, talk about that task order while we're up there, just to make good use of time. So that is the goal and the target that FHU has set. And I'm more than willing to answer any questions that trustees might have.
There really is a great opportunity to look at things like kind of walk shed, and again, just that whole kind of station area as a transit hub and what that looks like in terms of any future development. And I think really laying out a vision and some action plans, having that study done and a kind of professional plan also is extremely helpful in going after any sort of grant funding in the future. In terms of having some initial conceptuals and design, as well as data and community engagement to back up what we're asking for funding for.
And I'd like to see a study that incorporates a parking garage, which was kind of the original intent of how we help activate the Riverwalk and not have a sea of parking lots over there, and have one structure that is part of the transit center.
Sounds good.
Yeah, parking will definitely be a part of the station study planning process, Mayor Pro Tem. So if you have any questions about that, we can always go into that more as you work through the station study process. As a part of that study, with what we've currently scoped in so far, there are going to be stakeholder interviews with key members of the community. Some would be probably determined by town staff, but if there are specific concerns that you all see, I think that we would welcome that as a part of the discussion.
I just want to make sure that, because she, I think, was referencing a parking garage, not just parking. Okay, that was your understanding. I just making sure.
Yes, staff and
Okay.
CDOT have talked about that and
You got it, okay.
evaluating that possibility as part of the study. Yep. And I'll just point out as well, included in the packet is a travel shed analysis that CDOT did with their consultants for Granby. And that was included just as reference of what this may look like, as well as a couple larger plans. The Pueblo Station Area Plan and a Colorado Springs passenger rail station location study are included. Our scope would probably be a bit different than both of these, but just wanted to give some examples of the type of things that could be included in this plan.
Do you have a tentative time for the 16th walkthrough?
We don't have a formal time scheduled yet, but I
Okay.
know when we had scheduled the previous walkshed meeting, we'd started I think at 9 and we were going to go until noon. So probably similar time frame.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
If you would like to just provide a motion authorizing us to continue to work with CDOT on these efforts, that would be
So
appreciated.
moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
Joe.
Have a great rest of your
Thanks, Joe.
evening.
Thanks,
Thank
you
you.
too.
You can sit down, Sarah.
All right, resolution 2026-0305 rendezvous community trash enclosure license agreement.
You're
Garrett
on,
and
fellas.
At long last.
Good evening,
Alan?
Mayor and Full. 1 second here. Good evening. My name is Alan Sealiff, Assistant Town Planner. Bringing back the Rendezvous Community Trash Enclosure License Agreement. We previously spoke about this in September 2025. So just I'll go through a few slides here, and then the applicant's got a number of slides to present on as well. The request is from Rendezvous, Colorado to construct an HOA managed community trash enclosure on town property. It's intended to serve chiefly the single family uses in the Rendezvous development. The proposed license agreement would be required to formalize the arrangement and allow Rendezvous to construct it on town property. Again, this request was first presented to the Board of Trustees on September 17th, 2025. And following some discussion on that, it was ultimately tabled for the applicant to consider some additional items and then come back. So that's what we're doing tonight. Again, the proposed location is roughly on the west side of Rendezvous Road, across the street from the St. Bernard Church, about 1,500 feet to the east of Highway 40. The license agreement area is a relatively small area of about 6,000 square feet, located between two town infrastructure buildings, so the water well and a water treatment plant, I believe. And then just a note that the proposed license agreement area is small enough where it doesn't remove open space outside of the 4E required dedication from Rendezvous, going back to the annexation agreement and the minimum required. If you recall some discussion last time, we discussed that an additional amount of open space was provided through the various filings and subdivisions. This eats into that a little bit, but not so much to go underneath the minimum amount. So the proposed license agreement would cover construction and maintenance at the licensee expense. It's proposed to automatically renew since these are permanent improvements in terms of trash area screening and a vehicle turnaround and landscaping. Some kind of key stipulations of the license agreement include that it can be mutually terminated or terminated by the town for non-compliance on the maintenance standards. And then ultimately, if ever terminated, the licensee would be responsible for full removal and restoration of the site. So just some recap items of the board discussion on the 17th.
discussion was regarding alternative sites to be examined and looked at. So Rendezvous is here tonight to go into more detail about some of those other sites. There was a request to specifically outreach to the church and provide kind of an update on discussions with the church on their potential impacts from it and their feelings on it. Discussion if an open space could be offered, if additional open space could be offered as a proposed trade to make the town whole essentially. And then discussion of some of the more finer details of operations, maintenance, and design that's intended. So the applicant is coming back tonight to present on these items, but included as an attachment to the board or the staff memo is a letter of support, a communication from the St. Bernard Church indicating that they don't have opposition to it. Additional detail on these sites is going to be detailed. We'll speak to that after my presentation. And then Rendezvous is proposing transfer of some additional open space to offset the license agreement area, specifically a small area to the east of Porphyry Pass, and I've got a map on the next slide. And then additionally, a small parking area with 9 parking spaces that's currently been used as construction staging. And as the development has been built out, is no longer needed, and proposing to turn it over to the town for trail parking. So here's the 2 proposed conveyances. On the left here is the open space area to the east of Porphyry Pass Road. This is the road that connects the Fraser component of Rendezvous to Winter Park and Ski Idlewild Road. And then on the right, it doesn't show up great on the aerial here, but it is an existing parking area that it was originally included in the filing 7, which is the townhomes immediately adjacent to this as part of their parking. But the final plan for the filing 7 area included quite an excess of required parking anyway. I believe it was 75 or so parking spaces that they were already providing above the minimum required at the time. So the loss of 9 spaces isn't a concern for any of the required parking. And again, it would be intended to serve as public parking for trails in the Rendezvous area, not necessarily just Rendezvous residents. So tonight, the action to be considered would be a resolution that would allow execution of a license agreement. So we've got the first 2 are the same conditions of approval proposed originally in September, that there were still some staff review comments on the initial submittal. So reviewing and addressing those, and then requirement for an updated legal description and an exhibit of the license agreement. And then this new condition C would require the applicant to convey to the town these 2 proposed areas in exchange for the license agreement, and that would have to be executed prior to the town executing the license agreement and recording. So just a final comment, discuss any of these, and then if there's any other conditions or thoughts from the board to integrate into here, we could add those into the resolution as well. That concludes my presentation, and then we've got Scott Komiak here and Joe Malone from Rendezvous, Colorado, with some presentation slides. I'll pull these up once they're ready.
Ellen, I was curious as to why this is a license agreement.
The license agreement, there's several other like town executed license agreements. It's so that the town ultimately retains the property, the underlying property, and it's not a formal conveyance of the land over to Rendezvous, so that we keep possession of the open space. Ultimately, it won't be open space as part of the license agreement, obviously, but it could be converted to that in the future should the license agreement be revoked or mutually agreed to be removed.
Okay. And in the future, if there's a better option X amount of years from now and this facility is no longer needed, it still maintains us to have that property, which I think is a good move.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions for Alan before we have
the 2 parcels that they're, I guess they're going to exchange for that property, are they near a trailhead? I'm not exactly sure where they're located.
Yeah.
And are they convenient? Are they at a trailhead? Rendezvous does a lot of trails, but
So the Porphyry Pass has an existing trail on the left here, so
where
sort of
exactly is that?
And
That'd be
then
too back
the
there.
trailhead parking lot over here on the photo on the right. It's between, I believe, Stagecoach Way and Long's Peak Drive. I believe there's a winter trail that goes through here, and then there's current discussions to improve some trail crossings in the vicinity that will relocate it a little bit closer to this trailhead. I know in some of the slides that Scott had, I believe he talked about some of the trails, so they'll be able to speak a little bit more about the immediate proximity. But I know there's a trail that goes along Rendezvous Road to kind of the upper left, and then adjacent to this site to the south.
So Porphyry Pass Road is the one that connects Rendezvous Road to Ski Idlewild Road,
Right.
where the new Idlewild Park is.
Right.
And that trail segment is the one that goes to the east towards the Forest Service land east of Rendezvous, I believe.
And so what improvements are gonna be made at there? I mean, and who's gonna pay for those? I mean, I assume they're gonna put a parking lot there, right?
Well, there, yeah, the paving is already there. We had a site meeting with Paul Johnson, Public Works Director, to discuss kind of requirements to turn these over to the town. There was discussion that there'd be some required drainage improvements to make sure that the parking lot drainage isn't impacting adjacent trail or property. So I believe some curbing will be added to that, and then striping. But then ultimately, once it's turned over to the town, the intent is that we would fully maintain it.
So it'll
in the
be-
future.
It'll be public parking.
Right.
And how many spaces?
9 spaces. It's
For
believe
both of
it's
them?
7 we're pulling, and there's a couple of 2 for parallel parking on the east side of it.
It's a lot bigger than 9 spaces, that lot. I mean,
That's what it was designed as in the approved final plan for filing 7. Because we'd ground truth that once the street striping goes in, but it would meet the striping requirements for parking space.
9 spaces between both of them, or
Well, no, the parking lot is only on the image on the right.
what's the other one?
The other one is just an open space parcel that is intended to make whole for the loss of the license agreement area for the trash enclosure. So it would essentially stay in its current condition. It's got a trail on it. There'd be some, I believe, some drainage improvements or ditch cleaning for Porphyry Pass itself, but the parcel, there'd be no changes to the open space parcel shown on the left.
So the area for this parking too is, it's in good proximity to a trail that can take you to the Friendship Drive trailhead that gets into the national forest areas. We always have, I think, complaints from, I think, some property owners in that area, just given how popular that trailhead is. So this provides some other expanding and parking opportunities for that trail, which, you know, for me personally, is one of my favorite trailheads in the summertime. And, you know, I think having more parking that's just farther down without having to go all the way to the base of Rendezvous is great for people from the Midwest who don't want to huff up the whole hill.
But I guess I'm struggling with the one on the left. What are we getting? Because is that buildable land? I mean, could they put a house or something there? What? I mean,
No, it's
so
currently
it's gonna stay open
attracts-
space. What are we getting for, with that piece of property?
It'd be essentially just confirming that it's town-owned open space in perpetuity rather than something that the HOA could potentially propose for.
So
There wouldn't be any actual uses, though. It's part of the HOA open space currently for that filing, just
okay.
transferring it to the.
So we wouldn't have the opportunity to put 2 or 3 parking spaces on there.
I don't
in the
believe
future.
so. I mean, at that point,
What do you
it's
think?
town
Got-
property, though. I
got
guess.
Winting. Hard to say.
So
Ask that.
Yeah.
Plan, so I would imagine. I don't think it's big enough to do it, and the topography on it,
Okay, wouldn't allow it. Okay. It's hard to
There's no
tell.
trailhead there, right? So
No, but runs right through it.
You do have a bus stop there, and you could have put up additional signage there too for the trails. So I mean, those are some opportunities that we could take advantage of, as putting in some type of a bus shelter. There's a Lyft bus stop right there off that Porphyry Pass.
Okay.
So it gives us the flexibility to enhance the different trails as we look at that.
Down the road.
That's great.
So if either party were to terminate this license agreement, the land dedications do not revert back. They stay in place. Fraser stays whole. There is no risk to Fraser, in other words.
Right, that is the way that's been discussed at this point, and have no kind of counter conveyance of the open space if the license agreement goes away.
Okay. Is there any concern that this request will be replicated in the future? Maybe not by this group, but other groups wanting to lease open space for dumpsters?
Yeah, sure, I mean. it
I
could be
think that's a bad,
possibility, yeah.
I mean, it's a terrible precedent. I understand this one's already built and, or the subdivision's already built. This is kind of a cleanup activity, but I'm trying to make sure that we don't get pressed with this ever again. I think it's an inappropriate use for
Ultimately, it's case
open
by
space.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I was going to suggest is maybe we do an ordinance that is specific to this situation so that it's not repeated.
Well, who knows what comes in the future?
We don't want dumpsters on our open space, is what I'm saying. That's
We
not,
already have dumpsters on our open space, right? That's where the dumpsters are now.
Well, it's
But
town land.
we're cleaning up this situation. We don't want every subdivision moving forward and every annexation to put forward a request that, hey, that's a legitimate use of your open space to put dumpsters on it.
Well, I think in the future, we all know that we need dumpsters and that's part of the planning process. This was back in the day when they thought they were all from Denver and we were from Denver and everybody got their trash picked up.
Oh,
by-
yeah, I do think this is a cleanup issue. I just don't want to face this issue ever again, is my point, I guess.
Is it
what-
required?
What's gonna happen with the current dumpster property?
It's moving to here.
It's
Or
gonna be
not the
relocated over
dumpster,
here. I'm
right.
sure
Well,
that,
the
That's
current
the
town,
complicated.
the town owns that, so we can.
So are we gonna develop, is that the plan to develop that property?
It'll be developed by Rendezvous. I mean, the dumpsters may be on a little parcel of it, but the access is in the Rendezvous property.
Yeah, we will still maintain access. I think there's a well house there.
Yeah.
We still want to maintain access to the well house to maintain that well house.
So we have an easement to that property.
Well, we own the property, so we can put an easement on it before we ever convey it, if the town were to ever convey that in the future. But we would need to evaluate, from like a public works perspective too, do we need to have somewhere, utilizing that land versus providing it for future development? I think it's just a trade-off the town needs to consider in the future.
I'm just trying to think of what value it has for the town to move the dumpsters from the current location to the proposed location.
They violate our current ordinance for visibility from a highway. Those dumpsters do.
Yeah.
What are they are?
And the community would like to see them moved.
Yeah.
It's likely a bigger benefit for Rendezvous than it is for the town, but I think we're being a good partner and they're also being a good partner of trading. some
Yeah.
land. It's-
And just a little background on this too, 4E is the open space parcel that's in the 2003 PDD that shows the rendezvous planning parcels. And per that annexation agreement, 4E is to be dedicated to the town, which it has. And that was a requirement of the annexation agreement. That is different than what you have like on the other side of the street for Grand Park, where you have 23W, which is the open space and open space facilities, where they still get to keep that open space and there's no require for that contribution. So, they did contribute more open space than what was necessary. They are trying to offset any type of impacts for this site with additional open space, which I think is worth mentioning. But just the reason that we're here is just because of that requirement in the annexation agreement for them to dedicate 4E for that open space to the town, which they have done. But hindsight's always 2020. They could have cut out this parcel before they dedicated that, but before they really saw the need for this facility in the location.
So like I said, there are a number of slides here from the applicant. We hear from them for some additional detail and then happy to answer questions from either one of us.
Good. Bring them up. You ready for it?
You'll just advance with arrows or the.
Great. Thank you, Alan. Mr. Mayor, trustees, thank you again for having me here tonight. My name's Scott Komiak with Rendezvous, Colorado. I'll try to be pretty brief because I think you guys have all seen this quite a bit. And Alan did a really nice job of putting together an update of where we were. We heard very clearly at the last meeting of some concerns, and we just tried to do our best to kind of address all those different concerns, including evaluate the different locations, talking to the church, considering some visual impact from the church, seeing what that looked like, as well as the trading of some open space. So those are the items that we looked at. Just so everyone knows the area we're talking about, this is the area along Rendezvous Road and what this would look like. And here's some pictures of the facility, just to remind you as well. The design of this would be in keeping with a lot of the other trash enclosures in the area, but better. A lot of earth tone colors. We're going to actually completely screen this in on the top part where it shows it's kind of open. And just to kind of make it sure it's more wildlife protected and we don't have any of that. So there's some lessons what we've learned over the years. We're also putting solar lighting on there, downward lighting for night sky, as well as a security camera, which will go directly to our property management company, who is here represented tonight too. And actually, I would want to mention too, is we have representatives from the Rendezvous Community Association online and also in the audience here too, if there's any other questions regarding that. We talked about the license agreement, which we don't need to go into any further unless you have any questions on that. But I really wanted to kind of get into the alternatives location analysis so you guys understood how we looked at this. So again, we put together a set of criteria. First of all, really not having this on US 40 for some visual impact reasons, and also just for the likeliness of getting more poaching as you get drive-bys on the highway there. Visual impact, we didn't want to locate this next to someone's house or at least too proximate to that. Having them in a location that was centrally that people these users can use it on, and ideally on the route out of the community here. Other items would be the land use, really not, it's an appropriate land use in that area and not necessarily in a location that just would have a negative impact to the adjacent land uses. A buildable site, it's not overly, too much hillside and a lot of grading required, and then circulation into this because people will be driving in and out of this. So that's really the criteria. We applied that to four different locations here, and it's probably hard to see here, but you could probably see on your screen here. And I'm going to take you through the different locations here. Location number 4 is really, again, this is really on the location that across from that open space that we were just talking before. And you could see a trail. We have a new trail that we actually put in on the left-hand side of Porphyry Pass Road. And actually, can I point here? I think I can, yeah. So this is Porphyry Pass Road here, which connects to Ski Idlewild Road. And this is that hairpin turn here. We recently improved a trail that comes from the Ski Idlewild Park up to this location and crosses this location. But we thought this might be a good location for the trash facility, but really because of the location on a hairpin turn primarily, and that it would be impacting a trail there, we didn't think that was a great location there. Moving on to the alternative number 3. This is, again, on Rendezvous Road. But the biggest challenge with this location here is really that it's right below a bunch of homes that it could be looking right on it. I think the route would be good. And the site is a little bit challenging because it is a sloping hillside. It would take a bunch of grading to get that work done. Alternative location number 2. This is actually where we're just talking about that parking lot that we talked about before. You could theoretically put this trash enclosure on that parking lot. And again, I think the biggest challenge with this is that it's right next to those homes. They're probably not an inappropriate land use as it relates to that. But while I'm on this slide here, I could talk about that parking lot that we'll be conveying to the town. And we are currently working with HTA, and actually they may be reaching out to the town if they haven't already. We're going to be applying for a grant to kind of improve this trail location. Right now, you actually cross the road. This is a winter and all-season trail, and you go along the road, and then and then you actually go down this gully right here, we're looking actually getting this grant that would allow us to cross the road right here, and we would build the trail on the far side of this, which will take some grading and some site walls in that location there. It really is going to improve this area here. It's going to make it a safer crossing, and with the parking there, it's going to be well utilized. This
So-
is, I'm sorry.
Backing up to that.
Oh, okay.
Having sold one of those units, I really would like to have some kind of buffer for that comp, those 3 or 4 units.
Yeah, we've looked at that, putting, it's
For the
trees
parking.
and snow storage kind of is always the challenge there. I think and again, the other part is planting more trees in that location there when there's really no irrigation. There's really no guarantee.
Even a fence would be better than.
Yeah, and I think that's something we can look at. We actually talked about it on site, actually, when we were with Alan and Paul on site. And it's just one of those things of, would they think that's an improvement or not an improvement, and how it works for
I think
maintenance?
you
and stuff.
need to do some politicking over there because they're not going to be happy when they find this out, I don't think.
So we could definitely take a look at that. I mean, I think doing the appropriate thing. I think we're willing to do one of those things. It's just a matter of what's the right thing to do and what would they like to see. Again, going back to this, the preferred location here, you could see how it's really, it actually is a very efficient use of land. It is, as Alan mentioned, between the old barn and, which is part of the town public works facility, and the water well setbacks. And actually will allow us to preserve the trail in that location. It is on a very flat section of road, a straight section of road, and not immediately across from any residential here. As you zoom into this, one of the things, I know Katie mentioned her experience of being at the church and what she would see from there. And we went out there and took some pictures. We did meet with the church to kind of see what this would look like from that church area here. This first this simulation here is what it looks like today if you're standing right outside the church and looking that direction here, and where that red arrow is generally where that facility would be. The next one you could see, there's a slight brown structure with some trees in front of it. That's what you would see. So it's in the distance. It's not breaking the tree line. You'll still see the ridge line in the distance here. It has a pretty minimal impact on the view, and standing out there with the church, they didn't have any concerns with that.
And the trash enclosures are a big improvement over
Yeah.
what you have right now.
Yes, they are. Yes. It will be, it's a earth tone colored facility there, covered and completely secure. So it's going to be really blended.
Nice.
Yes.
So from the back, from people walking on the trail behind it? it'll
Well, in
just
the
look
back,
like-
actually, it's going to be even harder to see because there's trees behind it
Okay.
as well.
You're gonna have to
Yes.
reroute the trail.
It is actually not totally rerouted. It's actually shifted over slightly and improved.
So
It's in
reroute
the
it.
same, just about the same alignment.
Shift, yeah.
And looking at the open space, you could see in this map here, as Brian mentioned, as Michael mentioned, the 4E open space here is the large swath here. That was one of the requirements from the early PDD of dedication. Prior to that was the linear park of dedications there. And then you could see within the community here, in addition to all those open space areas, each area of the community has either association open space or additional town open space. And so this is it's a very generous open space plan. Going back to Louis, the location of that one open space that's right in this location here. If you could see my cursor there. And actually, I think I have a next slide, maybe zooming in on that. Yeah, so you could see this breaks out the trashed area location right here. This is the Four Season, we're calling this the Four Season Trailhead dedication right here. And this is the other open space location right here. Hopefully that explains the location a little bit better. And actually the picture on the bottom right here is a picture looking down that open space next to the Porphyry Pass Road and the snow covered trail in that location there. So again, public benefits, Rendezvous has, I think, been a pretty good steward with providing trails. The original PDD required some connections that be made, approximately 1.88 miles of trails. Over the years, we've provided approximately 8.5 miles of trails, including just another almost a mile and a half of trails in 2025. We're actually continuing to do some trail improvements in 2026. We have some really important connections. We're really at the point now, we're just trying to make safer road crossings and just better connections to make sure everything from the north side of Rendezvous Fraser can actually get all the way over into Rendezvous Winter Park. So I think that's going to be really pretty neat. This trailhead off Rendezvous Road is going to be also very important. As you know, I think Michael mentioned, there's always a need for trailhead parking. That has been one of the criticisms in the community here. So I think that does go a long way towards satisfying some of that. And the Rendezvous Foundation as well has to date contributed over $1.5 million towards the wide range of local organizations, including the Fraser Valley Recreational Foundation and the Fraser Valley Elementary School and the NSCD. So I think we try to be as good a steward in the community as we can, and we'll like to continue that. Just final thoughts. Again, as we mentioned before, one of the number one complaints that we have received as part of the Rendezvous Community Association board is really the trash. And this is something that, as I mentioned in our last meeting, I heard about from my first day working up here. And we're just trying to kind of fix this legacy issue here. And we have heard from the town of Fraser, from code enforcement, and from our property management, this would go a long ways towards helping the situation here. This improvement would improve the entry. We were talking about what would happen on that parcel there. You're right. Part of the trash facilities existing now are on town well property, and part of it is on commercial property. We are currently actively looking at doing planning work for those parcels along US 40 here, and hopefully we'll be back to you guys here shortly with some planning efforts that we're going to do there. I think there's probably some better uses than trash facilities along US 40 that will benefit the town of Fraser. So that's our plan. I think that's generally about it. The Rendezvous Community Association Board has approved this project, conditioned basically based on your approval of this. So once we're approved, once we move forward with any approval from you guys, we would actually go and we're going to go and rebid this and making sure we got all our pricing and work for getting this constructed in the spring. Great. So with that, any questions of me?
You did a great job of addressing my concerns, so thank you.
I tried. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anything we can do to improve the parking around that Fraser River Trail as you come in over the bridge? That's a really small little parking lot.
Oh, yes. And actually,
And then across the street in front of the little park, and maybe across the street, but that's a real high trafficked area, that trailhead at the.
They have improved it. It's all paved now.
Yeah, but it's only a few spots and it's hard to get in and out of. I'm just wondering if there's anything we could do to increase capacity there.
I don't know if it's already been conveyed to the town. I think that's a town parking lot now.
It is. Oops.
But we are actually working with the town and HTA right now to look at some grants for that as well, because I do agree that the turning movements into that and the crossing there is awkward, especially for the winter trail. So those are things we are working with to kind of try to improve that. As I mentioned before, there's a couple different areas, and that's been identified as one of the more important areas of safety concerns.
Well, and across the street in front of that little park, there are some parallel or whatever diagonal parks, parking spaces, but it's on a curve. And it's kind of a dangerous curve because there's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of trucks because all the trucks come in through there, right?
Well, some do, yes. And actually, we have also, we've heard that, we've had that discussion with the Rendezvous Community Association about truck traffic there. So we're, being Rendezvous, Colorado, we're actually we've reached out to all of our trades, kind of talking about speeds and being careful in truck traffic in that area. And if you're working in Winter Park, that you should be driving and using the Winter Park entrance and not using the Fraser entrance to kind of go all the way through to Winter Park. So we have been we're trying to mitigate that through some, some communication. But as for the parking spaces that are along the road there, that is all within the town of Fraser already. And so that might be something that we're happy to, again, work with the town to kind of look at different solutions to kind of make safer crossings and safer parking.
Yeah, that parking lot area that was conveyed and that improved and conveyed to the town, was just another requirement, that annexation agreement for that trailhead parking close to the Fraser River Trail.
Okay.
But looking at
Is there
our
any
discussions
space
around
across the
speed,
road?
That?
Any space across the road from the park?
Condos, no.
There's a water quality pond there.
I'm talking about right kind of
Below the
below
town.
the condos, the townhomes or whatever they are.
Yeah, if I think it's where I'm thinking you're talking about. It's kind of a depression in that area. And I believe it's it's storm storage in that location.
Given the recent discussions we've had about speed, we could look at that area too to see if there's any way that we could help slow down traffic with that parking that's there off Mountain Man Park, just to help address that issue.
Yeah, that probably would be appropriate for that section. I'm thinking of parks. I love Park. It's awesome.
I'm glad you like it.
It is so cool. It's the
Thanks.
biggest hit with the
He's the man.
grandkids. They're like, let's go to Idlewild. I love it up there.
Is it finished?
Yes.
It's awesome. It's a great park for kids. It's super, super cool. Well, I would like to make a motion to approve resolution number 2026-0305.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank
You have
you.
a trash enclosure.
Thank you. It's a win for us. And
We appreciate it.
answer my question. Good.
Okay, Grand County Road 72 acquisition from Grand County. Paul.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees, Paul Johnson, Public Works Director. The matter before you tonight is just looking for board's decision on acquiring County Road 72
For $10?
from the intersection of Grand County 721, so just past the underpass, all the way up to the dirt road there that'll be Grand Park Drive eventually. Kind of was envisioned back when the drop was designed and built, and they realigned County Road 72 from its previous location, which was kind of straight up the hill next to the historic Fraser Tubing Hill. This is the relocated portion, and we were approached again end of last summer by the county on our willingness to acquire that. It does kind of serve the purpose of putting the road under our control as we look to build the public works facility on 6W. And so they're looking to dedicate to or give to the town with the quick claim deed that portion there from the intersection of 721 up to Grand Park Drive. The only cost is the $10 for the quick claim deed. So I'm just looking for consensus from the board if we want to move forward with acquiring this. That would give us control of 72 up to Grand Park Drive, and then they would continue to own the rest up to the through up past Denver Water and all the way up the rest of the way 72.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
I
I think
why
it's,
bringing it to the board.
Yeah.
yeah,
I should-
I think it's a great move.
before I tell the county to go ahead and vote on this next Tuesday.
And there may well be room for a rather steep but pedestrian trail, just a single track, because a lot of people walk up that road, County
Yeah,
Road
I mean, it's a
72 on the
steep-
corner, and it's bad.
It's a steep road, but we significantly lowered the slope of that road when we put the 2 curves in it.
Yeah,
This
And
was,
it's just on a blind curve and.
yeah, it's just, it lines, it
Anyway.
aligns with the future of the public works.
Is there any conversation on giving them 721?
Yes.
Can we just swap it?
Or
Or is that a-
conversation, with the county, my conversations with, Chris Manguso and David, their, road and bridge, superintendent, is that they are, open and agreeable to taking, the land under 721 back. It just, 721 just appeared to be a piece that when we de-annexed Byers Peak Ranch, that for some reason we kept the right of way underneath the road.
That pre-existed the
Okay.
Byers Peak Ranch
So
annexation.
they're open to taking that, and that being, when that becomes part of the parkway, that they control that piece.
That'd be good.
So
What section is that? Is that?
The Fraser
It's the
Parkway.
parkway that goes across at the Tubing Hill and
Right.
cuts
That whole road
from
is-
72 to 73.
Is owned by the town of Fraser?
It-
land,
it-
land underneath the right of way.
Yes, we own the right of way.
It's a goofy setup.
It's goofy.
But it's
And that's why I was like, let's just clean this up.
trying to clean things up.
So they are open to, they are open to it.
Great.
What if we acquire Byers Peak Ranch, then what would happen? It'd still maintain, it would still be the county.
It'd be annexed into the
It
town
would
with
be, I
the.
think,
At
with
that
the
point, it'd be
annexation.
annexed in.
Roads are easy. It's property, it's over the shop.
Okay.
The only question I have is the survey picture shows, the original County Road 72 that goes on the left side of the drop. What about the bend that got put in it? Who owns that?
I'll check with Chris. It should be ours as well.
Okay,
But this would give us the old portion there behind the drop for
right.
maybe potential expansion of the drop.
Yeah, and I mean, that makes total sense. I just want to make sure that
Yeah, I'll touch
if we're
base with them.
maintaining above that road, we should probably maintain the bend.
We own that. It's ours.
We do?
Yeah.
Okay.
On 72, where does our ownership stop? It stops at John's Drive, right? Then it goes to the county.
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought too. It
Yeah.
is, right after the Murdoch Center, it turns into the county road.
Right, where it's dirt.
What do we
Yeah,
get
the
in
road's
this
dirt.
right here?
On this side.
So that road used to go straight up instead of bending and coming
We
around the
get these
drop.
So
two
that
properties?
like triangle,
What we're,
look at it.
It's confusing, like, and this is property. Here's the.
Or maybe the way
Right.
to say yes, it'll be a further discussion.
so
on
they
this sort of
have
thing.
not vacated their
Yeah,
right of way,
This is
so
another
it's
problem.
Oh.
Well, I think, right, exactly. I do think the bend is owned by the town already. I just don't-
maintenance of this whole road.
I just wanted to make sure.
Uh,
that-
The
The
two
bend
hills.
may have been the old
What's that?
public works area. So
Okay.
they're down.
So it's the old road that we're getting.
But I think we have
Right.
aligned intentions of a pedestrian path, Katie's point.
Yeah.
Coming up that hill instead of people walking around that, because some cars, some people bring their cars up, and they just can't.
All
get
the
up
way
that hill.
over.
It's a
This is not.
aerobic path. It would be a very aerobic. But
Sprints.
you wouldn't get run over.
All right.
Okay.
Grand County Road, 72 acquisition from Grand County.
Second.
Got it?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you,
Okay.
appreciate it.
great.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to updates. We've got committee minutes under there. Don't need to go into those, but anybody else?
Grand County, their drought preparedness committee met last week and determined that we are in a stage 3 drought, which is our highest level.
Thank you.
The rivers, reservoirs are actually okay levels right now, but the rivers precipitation are at record lows.
They don't look
Not
like it.
anticipated to change. Summer's more supposed to be more of a neutral, and then the fall they don't know, but they're not anticipating this turning around. So, all the recommendations that come out from the county are voluntary, but they're going to start advertising that we're in a stage 3 drought. And if you look at any of the presentations out there, Grand County, Summit County, and Eagle County are just drying up over the last year compared to the rest of the state. It's
Yeah.
but anyway, we're officially in a stage.
So what does
3
that,
drought.
what does that mean?
Yeah, it's a voluntary program. You know, we make a lot of suggestions to the water providers on, you know, communicating with their constituents on just doing better practices, using less water.
It doesn't have anything to do with fire restrictions yet.
It does not. They're not related.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that was gonna be one of my
That's coming.
thoughts,
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I would imagine
that we need to start looking into and getting out to our constituents and the users that they need to be water wise. You know, and right off the bat, start those water restrictions and encouraging people to not take long showers and get the word out.
those are exactly the
Something-
things that went out for the newspaper today. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
good, because it's, we,
you know,
we need to
let's
get
put
that out.
any landscaping activities, put those off because generally that takes a lot more establishment watering and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I don't
You know,
care if they- they
using a
grab us a
nozzle,
low.
which is in our water conservation ordinance on your hose, those kind of things. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's spooky.
Yeah, we can absolutely share those items. with
Yeah, I
counties.
think it'd be good for us to keep that on our radar and keep it out to our homeowners
Got some updates.
and our guests.
Go for it. So today we received the commitment letter for St. Louis Landing from CHAFA, from the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority,
Great.
for the Prop 123 funds. So that's
That's
very good
huge.
news. With that, we are anticipating a closing date for the bonds and for the Prop 123 funds on April 21st. I will confirm that when we can confirm that, but that's what we're all looking at, is that date for April 21st, maybe even be a couple days before that. But that's well within the timelines for that last extension that the board just had. And just again, once we close on those bonds and the Prop 123 funds, that second loan that was approved at the last meeting will be immediately reimbursed and wired back to the town. So just want to provide that reassurance.
And we're
Thank
gonna,
you.
a bridge loan is gonna cover. So it was a little confusing. I asked a question, but I'm not sure it was clarified. It had a promissory note as part of that. And it said 2 million, but then the total was 3.3 million. So what is?
Right,
what
and
is
it's,
the bridge?
we were at 2 million, and then looking through the end of April, Matt gave us updated numbers. It just didn't get updated everywhere, but it's correct and the actual approval.
But it's
3.3.
3.3.
3.2.
Yeah.
Okay, that's gonna carry us through.
Through the end of April and probably into May a little bit.
So we don't-
So as soon as we close on these on hopefully on April 21st, that's any funds that have been allocated from that 3.3 million will be paid off and not used any further.
Are we still working on that sort of contingency?
Matt is still
Well,
working on a contingency
okay.
with that too, with the Impact Development Fund.
Okay.
Grant County is looking to stand back up the Historic Preservation Board. They've been reaching out to the various municipalities to see if the board would like to appoint one member to that Historic Preservation Board. Doesn't have to be a board member, could be a board member, could just be a member of the public. This is kind of similar to the Fraser River Valley Housing Partnership, where we just appoint somebody that we think would represent the interests of Fraser regarding different loans and grant programs that are available to properties with historic designation. And also look at adding any buildings that the town board would want to add to the historic designation. So, things that could be added to that could be like the historic church, for example, could open up some funding for the church, especially for an additional phase. All the other municipalities have elected that they do want to have an appointment. So just want to confirm with the board that is something that you are interested in. I would recommend it, just given that we do have a few buildings in Fraser that do have historic designation. And with this local, when they stand this back up, the county will have the ability to process buildings as long as they meet the proper criteria for that historic designation. Everyone's good with that?
Yes.
All right. We have been reached out by Steve Fitzgerald with Fraser Valley Arts, interested in a letter of support for their application for a $3 million Colorado Community Revitalization Tax Credit Program. Does anybody have a problem with us providing a letter of support
No.
This would go for the art center that they're looking at doing, and if they are successful in getting that $3 million, and see if things they can break around, they can get the project financed.
God, that'd be awesome.
So, I'll get that on letterhead. Brian's been working on the language that Steve provided some draft on, and we'll get that out to them for that application.
Awesome.
And the last thing I have is, you may or may not know, but Mr. Garrett Scott has provided his resignation. He will be looking to move to Texas with him and his wife Victoria, and we'll be working here at the town through April 17th.
Yep.
And then on the following day, the 18th, which is my birthday, of course.
Oh gosh.
Which is also the day that Sarah started.
You're gifted.
So obviously Garrett's been a tremendous success in the planning department world, and really has taken a lot of that initiative to really do the due diligence for these land use applications and allow the planning commission and the board to make really good informed decisions, in my opinion. And I just want to applaud his service to the town. And we unfortunately, I try to see if there's a way we can keep him on. We may be able to keep him on in a remote capacity depending on how our recruitment efforts go. But looking to have a successful transition with planning, with Alan, and just looking to advertise that job position and see what candidates we get in, and evaluate the best candidate we can to get them in that seat. So hopefully at some point, Garrett can provide some training to that individual. And but I'd open it up to Garrett. Any words you want to say?
Just, it has truly been an honor and a pleasure to serve you all in this community in this capacity the past 2.5 years. They have gone by in a flash, and in some ways, it's a short period of time to really make impactful change in a community, but I sure hope that in my time here, you all feel like I have been impactful, and that the ship has been steered in the right direction, and hopefully on a better path than before I joined the town. I am just truly grateful. I feel like I have gained a lot from this position and this community, and it was definitely a bittersweet choice for my wife and I to make, to move back home to Texas, ultimately just to be closer to family. But I will always, think back on my time here in this community very, very fondly, and look forward to visiting in years to come. Again, as Michael said, I'll be here through about mid-April, and potentially on a little bit beyond that in a remote capacity if necessary. I do want to ensure that this transition is as smooth as possible and leave the town and the planning department in good hands. So thank you.
Thank you, Garrett.
Thanks for everything, Garrett.
Thank you
You
so
will
much.
be missed.
Yes, you will be missed.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right.
Always have to read it.
I move to enter into an executive session for a conference with the town attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS section 24-6-402 4B regarding legal stances to include town manager Michael Brack, town assistant manager Sarah Tanzerite, town manager Garrett Scott, and town attorney Kent Whitmer.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Add to that. This will not need to be recorded. Everything that will be discussed will be attorney-client